Hey everybody, it is Zach here. Happy Easter. It is Sunday. It's about 11:30 at night and hanging out. I did a little bit of cleanup work, a little bit of neglect from the weekend. So I got dishes going and I'm looking up a couple of different things online. So as you guys seen in the past, I had a video I put up called The Gangsta Neighbor. And I've been doing a little bit of research because, okay, so I live in like the older part of town, I guess you could say, where the houses are really close together. And, um, and the neighbors over here are great, the neighbors over there are great, like a kind of like a family over here, old people behind me, a family on the other side, and the only bad part about this neighborhood is these people that live next to me. And I've lived here now for a year and almost 3 months, and we had some old neighbors, and you guys probably seen that video. Now we've went through. This is the third set. We had the old people, drug dealers. They didn't work. They had 4 kids, yada yada. Smoked pot all day. It would waft over. You'd smell nothing but pot. They left. Then we had these random people that came through for about 2 months, and now we're on the next set of neighbors. And in this year and a half, they don't mow the yard. They don't mow the yard. They don't do any upkeep. It seems to be just getting kind of worse. The people that live over there, it's a duplexed house. So the lady downstairs, her name is Sue, and she lives down there on her. I don't mind Sue at all. I have nothing against her. She lives down there with her son. I've never seen her son, but talking to her, he's like a shut-in kind of guy. He doesn't leave the house. So they live downstairs. Upstairs is always the problem, and these new people that we got, it's this lady and I believe to be her boyfriend. She looks like she might be like 30, and he looks like he could be anywhere from 17 to 30. I don't know really if it's someone she knows. I believe they might be a couple because he's over there a lot. Kind of the same thing. I smell pot coming out of the house, and you guys have seen how close we live to each other. We live literally 15 feet apart. Really not, whatever. So it's kind of come to a breaking point with me, and I think I kind of stand for my neighbors because I've talked to the old people behind us, and they are like on the same page, and you can just tell, like, the people on the other side, they put up a 6-foot fence from the very front all the way back. And with these new people upstairs, and the old people leaving, they have a couch on the deck. They have a round table on the deck, which they put in front of the stairs when they're gone. Coming down the stairs, they put a chunk of carpet in the lawn. There's like 24 of those little army men, red and blue, scattered throughout the yard. They got bikes in the yard. There was like a bed frame in the yard, and it's gotten to the point now where the trash that they have in their yard is like blowing through the fence and getting into my yard. And once again, they're just drug dealer people, and I don't mean to say it like that, but I have personally witnessed them sell drugs, and they're just dirty people. So the other day, the lady parked. At first, when they moved in, they're really quiet and cautious, as you'd expect. Well, they've been getting a little more rambunctious, I guess, slowly but surely, and the lady started parking half her van on my side of the fence back there. And I do have plans this summer to run the fence all the way out to the alley so they can't do this, but in the meantime, it's like, I'm looking at it, and I was screwing around with the fence out there, and I actually needed her to move the van because I couldn't work on the fence. So I walk over there and I'm looking and I'm like, wow, this place is a pigsty. And I walk up the deck because that's how they get in and out through the sliding glass door. And the stairs on this deck are literally falling off. Like the whole deck is shaking side to side to the point where I'm like, I don't even know if I want to walk up this. And I walk up it and I knock, and they have this. It's like a pit bull boxer mix, whatever. Barks, and she opens up the door and said, "Hi, I was just, could you please move your van?" She said, "Oh yeah, no problem." So I go and I'm waiting in the garage for her to move her van, and she backs her van up and pulls it over, whatever, and then it was, oh, thank you. She's like, yeah, but she came off kind of rude. She's like, yeah, you know, like, I don't understand because there was no other cars parked there. You can park 3 cars side by side behind their house and like 3 cars side by side behind mine. And I don't know why she would park on the property line when the fence that divides the property is right there. So, like, you obviously know, park on your side. And I had the same problem with the last people. That's why I've, you know, I let her do it. I let her get away with it probably half dozen times, and now it's like, okay, well, I kind of need you to not do that. But I went up there. It wasn't me, and I'm like, hi, I was just wondering if you could move your van for me, whatever. And I thanked her again. I was like, thank you. So that was early last week. Then it was like Friday or Thursday, probably Thursday. I took Phoenix on a walk, and we went down and up the alleyway. And I came around the garage door, and they have this black, like I said, it's like a pit bull boxer mix. And they don't leash it up. They have a leash that's on the fence that they used for a little bit, but they decide that, oh, this is cool. Their fence doesn't close at all, so it's open. It's just cool to let the dog out without any supervision and go inside. And that dog just runs off. And someone else was walking a dog in the alleyway like a month ago, and it ran out after that dog, which also happened to be like some sort of a pit bull or whatever. There's a little altercation there, and then it kept coming in the garage, and when you live in the city, there is laws against that. Like, you should definitely have your dog on a leash, and I don't care if they had it on a line or something like that, a running line, but their fence doesn't close, and they're just not supervising their dog or anything. So I'm walking through the alleyway, and I come to that side of the garage because that's how we walk through the gate, is on their side. And I open it up, and I start walking through. Or sorry, before I even opened up, when I came around the corner of the garage, I seen the dog, and it was in the yard, kind of by the stairs for the deck. The minute I seen that dog, it seen me and Phoenix, right? And you guys know Phoenix. He's a tiny little dog. He's probably 8 pounds. He's under 10 pounds. And that dog comes darting out, and I had my hands full of, I had some Walmart bags and an Easter basket for Samantha. And that dog comes, and he's on his harness, so I'm like trying to lift him up. I got my hands full, right? And I'm like, this is ridiculous. The dog comes up, and by that time I had scooped Phoenix up just in the nick of time, and the hair was standing up on the dog's back as it ran over, and it didn't come off as aggressive, which was nice. But I've tried to pet this dog many times, and it's kind of skittish. It didn't come off as aggressive, it didn't growl, but it came over there and really freaked the heck out of me. And, of course, Phoenix. So I'm thinking, okay, what's the most logical way to go about this, okay? They have the leash on the fence. They are not using it. They have brought, once again, we have more drugs going through this neighborhood, right? They're the only house that does this. There's actually the rental house over this way is a white one, and there's college-age kids that rent it. But they are never partying, never nothing. They're responsible. They're not loud, whatever. Another thing, too, is there's there's 2 windows on this side. One's in the kitchen by the sink, the other one's in what they would call their dining room. The screen for that window was hanging out last week, and it folded over and broke off, and now the bottom, like 6 inches on one side, 4 inches on the other, and the screen's hanging out. I'm like, okay, The fence is of disrepair. The deck is very close. They got a couch and a table on their deck. The dog, they're not leashing up the dog. They're bringing drugs into the community. They don't do any maintenance on their lawn, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but when I walk out there and I see mice running through by their house because the grass is so long, it has created a habitat for them. You know, that's the kind of stuff that the city doesn't want. On top of that, they're parking on my side. They're loud and obnoxious people. You know, that crazy lady was out there with the freaking crowbar beating on that other car. That's that gangster neighbor video that I showed you guys. And it's come to a point where it's like, okay, I gotta do something about this, right? I want to sell my house in probably somewhere between now and 5 years. And it's not going to sell unless that house is sold or something else. So I've talked to Sue. The previous people that were there, they got a whole bunch of fines. And none of these fines were from me because when I moved in, they were already there. So I was like the new person on the block and I didn't want to stir any trouble or do anything. So I just let it happen. And then it got to the point where I did call on a noise complaint because it was the middle of summer. They don't have air conditioning upstairs. They had the radio cranked. I could hear it in the house. I couldn't get away from the noise and I had to call. I'm like, I'm not doing it. And I wasn't about to go over there and ask them to turn it down because they had all their thug buddies over. And that's kind of the same situation we're in now. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to call because I've been doing research here on the city and what the city would like as far as rental property goes. And talking to the lady downstairs named Sue, she said that the owners live in like part-time Africa, part-time here, and it needs a new roof. The shingles are now flying off the roof, kind of like how my house was. Understandable, I'm not worried about it. That's their deal, not mine. But in any ways, the house is becoming, it needs a lot of repairs. And talking to Sue the other week, she's like, well, I know the property owner's not going to do it because we were talking about the fence. And so I think I'm going to try to you have to call them. So I'm going to try to make a friendly phone call in and just say, hey, this is what's going on. I understand that the rental owner isn't exactly the fix-it type. He isn't handy. And honestly, this house is becoming kind of a nuisance in our neighborhood. And just explain, needs a new roof. The screen's hanging out of it. The deck is about to fall over. They got junk all over in their yard. Just kind of have a conversation about it because there's no point for me to talk to those people about it because those people don't own the house. They're not going to fix the house. I have to kind of skip that step, right? No one over there works. They're all welfare people. So they're not gonna throw their couch out. They're not gonna throw that table out. They're not gonna pick up the army men in the yard. They're not gonna fix the fence. The fence is a good thing though, because I'm gonna put up my fence, and then they can deal with the rest. So that's good. I'm gonna steal that because as soon as I do that, I think there's a duration of about 3 years. I own the fence, so we're gonna get that done first. But I am gonna call. I'm gonna have a nice conversation. I'll be like, there's a pile of brush in the front yard. I see mice running through. It's kind of creating a habitat for rodents, and I think that's the best way I can go about it. And that's how it has to be, right? Because I keep my yard. I mow it once a week. I pick up all the trash. I pick up after my dog. I do all the right things, and everybody around here does the right thing. For this being the old part of town, it's actually mostly clean around here. The alley's very clean compared to other houses that I've looked at where there's brush growing in the alleyway. Our alleyways are very clean, very responsibly taken care of. And everybody I talk to on the block, I'm friends with the neighbors here. They know my name. Those people know my name. The older lady, a couple houses down, we are always chatting, and I thought of starting like a neighborhood watch neighborhood watch, but I don't think that I could get the community here to participate in that, being that we don't have that bad of a community, but we do need something to happen with there. So I'm hoping that having a friendly conversation with somebody from the city and just explaining that I'm not trying to be rude, but we do need to do something about this. They do need to throw that couch out, and it's not, I don't know how to get in contact with the owner. I've tried to get it out of the people that live there. They don't really want me getting in contact with the owner. And I guess Sue told me that they're like one fine away from essentially being forced to sell that house. And if they could sell that house, that'd be great, and we can go through this whole process again. But she came up to me the other day. She's like, "Hey, next time you go to the compost site, can you bring all my brush? I'll give you $5." No, I'm sorry. I'm not responsible for your yard, and I'm not responsible for anything that happens over there. If you are supposed to mow your lawn, that's cool, but technically if you're renting, the landlord should be doing it. So last summer, their grass was 1.5 feet high, and then they would take electric weed whip and weed whip about 2/3 of the front, which is nothing, and then leave all the back all high, all nasty. It's just like, I'm over it, So that's the way I'm going to go about this. I'm going to call and just explain that. And they say right on here, they're like, if you have a problem, like an outside junk issue, they say always encourage residents. We always encourage residents to first talk to their neighbors. And I have talked to Sue, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna get rid of the couch and everything like that." And this was weeks ago, and it's been here for weeks. It's like just a saying that there's, and I have a good relationship with her, but she doesn't even have a vehicle. What is she supposed to do? So it says the city staff can assist and notify the property owner of the need to dispose of the junk. And it says if they go out there, they assess it, and if the violation exists, the property owner will be given no longer than 10 days to clean up the nuisance. So they get a fine after that. And I think that is a perfectly good way to go about it, because I don't put anything outside. I'm very respectful. I don't leave any junk in my yard because of that. Because I want to keep my part of the neighborhood clean as much as I can do, and that way I don't have to worry about fines. And when I do leave like the trailer full of brush all week, I get nervous, like, oh, I'm gonna get a fine for having this trailer sitting out. And they can't, everybody else is following the rules. They're not. It's not my problem. I don't have to feel bad. So I'm sick of walking out my door and looking at a crappy house that it's never going to get taken care of unless someone does something, and they're obviously not. So I'm going to have to step in and just make a very honest and not biased complaint. So there you go. Hope you all enjoy. That's what's going on. So I'm probably going to make the complaint in the next couple days and just see where it goes from there. That's all I got. And then, you know what? They've been notified before in the past while Sue lived there, and this is how she's going to let it go again. So it's, these type of people can't be helped. You just have to kind of let it go. You have to tell them how it's going to be. So, all right. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you later.